Monday, everybody, and welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Scott Fontana. Follow me on Twitter at Scott_Fontana.
And I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at The Dan Urban. Follow the podcast at Couchside Judges and subscribe to us wherever you listen, including YouTube.
And you should subscribe to us on YouTube, and you should rate us on YouTube, anywhere you can rate us. Give 5-star reviews everywhere.
And as always, we taught judging in MMA, so head on over to abcboxing.com to read the criteria.
Dan, it was just a little bit of a busy weekend with fights, especially in the MMA realm. And we're not even going to talk about KSW, which had a show. We're really not going to get into the boxing match, of course, with Tyson Fury and Dillian White, because I didn't watch that. I kind of had a feeling it was going to go the way it did, from what I understood. So I wasn't going to spend money on that one.
I didn't even know he was fighting.
Surprise, he was fighting. But we had a lot of Bellator. We had a UFC. We had even a little bit of PFL earlier in the week, which I don't even think we touched on the fact that PFL was coming back in our previast episode.
I thought we did.
Did we? I didn't think we did.
Oh, maybe we didn't. I don't know.
I didn't think we did, but
you're probably right.
We are now, at least a little bit. I know Bellator's not always the one you would prefer to start with, but I think we kind of have to start there because at least there was more happening because there was so many fights happening between two events.
I enjoyed Bellator this weekend.
Can we frame that? Can we sell that as an NFT? Dan saying,
listen,
I liked Bellator. What did you say? I forget the words, but
I enjoyed Bellator.
I enjoyed Bellator. We're gonna turn that into an NFT.
It had a Strikeforce feeling.
Okay.
So I like that. It doesn't always have that feeling.
I feel like it often does. I'll be perfectly honest with you, my friend.
I don't know. I thought Moro was on.
One thing I did was very Moro. I don't know what you want.
Moro was on. He was extra.
All right.
And I liked it. But what I did not like.
All right, what's this?
I did not like everyone got to wear cool Hawaiian shirts. The judges, the commentary, everyone.
Not the refs.
But not the refs.
Yeah.
That is upsetting. And something should happen for the next time they go to Hawaii, where the refs get to wear a cool shirt.
So you want like maybe the Hawaiian official attire maybe to be a Hawaiian shirt with just like a Hawaiian Commission logo on it? Is that what we're looking for?
Nice floral print Hawaiian shirt. You can put whatever Commission logo on it and a lei.
And a lei.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that is unfortunate that, yes, the referees did not have that. But, yeah, everyone else got to be festive. Not the fighters. I didn't see one fighter in the cage wearing a Hawaiian shirt.
No, but there was Hawaiian fighters who came out to some pretty cool entrances.
But where did they leave it? Outside the cage.
They
Maybe
outside
that's the thing. If you're outside the cage, fair game. Once you step into there, it's all business. It's not for fun. We're not having funsies in Hawaii.
I mean, Yancey brought the Hawaiian flag in.
Yeah, but that's different. That's the pride of his state, of his. I mean, there's more to Hawaiian pride than just like, oh, it's my state, like we are with New Jersey. It's kind of a different thing.
Yeah, but that made it into the cage.
Yeah, it's a flag.
Okay.
The flag is not a Hawaiian shirt. Are there floral prints on the Hawaiian flag?
I'm a little disappointed no one had floral trunks.
That would have been kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? That's the missed opportunity I think we really ought to be talking about. I'm with you there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. We do actually want to start with something involving a referee, though, and Bellator. And that is, of course, the finish to the Liz Carmouche, Juliana Velasquez flyweight title fight from Friday night, Bellator 278 on their, doubleheader weekend. It was Friday, Saturday, 78, 79. We're going to go with the headliner here. And this was a fight that it was Juliana Velasquez fight more or less most of the fight until, arguably round one, which we'll actually get into because that was split. But on all three cards, going into round four, Velasquez is up on the cards. It's a round that goes very deep into, or in the fourth minute at some point when Carmouche finally gets on top. Velasquez is able to work to the crucifix position, which I always associate with a different flyweight, and that being Valentina Shevchenko is of course known for getting this position and just pounding out opponents, right?
Yeah, I think of John Jones more.
He doesn't do it much anymore. I can think of several Valentina Shevchenko fights where she gets this.
I'm just saying, every time I see that position, I just remember.
It's just what you personally associate.
Yeah, John Jones, Matt Yushchenko, I believe was when or Brandon Vera. one of them he smashed him with.
He was smashing Matt Yushchenko. I was
Okay.
in house in San Diego for that one actually.
Yeah.
That was the one time
Fuel
I actually
TV,
attended.
I believe that was on.
It was not Fuel TV. It was Versus.
Versus, okay.
UFC on Versus.
Yeah.
John Jones headlined the first 2 UFC on Versus shows.
Okay.
And those were the last times he ever fought on free TV.
Okay.
And will probably remain that way.
Yes.
Because I don't imagine that's changing again. But we're here. We're talking about this fight. Velasquez, again, she's stuck under. She's in the crucifix. And you got Carmouche landing elbows. I don't know how hard these elbows are looking necessarily. But for whatever reason, Mike Beltran called a halt to the bout. He saw something there, obviously, that said, okay, that's enough. We got to stop this here. There's only like 17 seconds left in the round. That has nothing to do, of course, with
13.
13 was it 13? Thank you.
13.
But either way, it's not like Mike Beltran. First off, he doesn't know that there's 13 seconds left because I don't believe there's a clock that's going to be around. And second off, if he hears this clapper, he's still probably not changing his mind and how he's going to do it. Because if he saw something, you would think that he stepped in because he saw a fighter who was in trouble, and you stopped them at that moment, right?
I mean, she was in trouble positionally. I don't think she was, really in any danger of being hurt too bad.
That's what it looked like to me. I mean, the only thing you can think of, because Mike Beltran is a good ref.
Mm-hmm.
Patricio Pitbull was calling him out for being like a bad,
Yeah,
he was doing that. Meanwhile, you had Juan Archuleta actually praising him for being a referee, from saving him from more damage after his knockout loss.
Mm-hmm.
So, there was a little bit of like a counter punch, so to speak, in defense of Mike Beltran, which I thought was nice. Because he is a good ref.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't change anything. I will say this. My initial gut instinct was I disagreed with the stoppage because it just didn't look like anything was being landed that's ending the fight, that's putting Juliana Velasquez in danger of, being out, right? She's stuck in a position. She's kind of checkmated in a sense because she's not getting out. She's trying to bridge. She's trying to get out. It's not happening, but you see Beltran come in there, and I haven't seen a really good camera angle that lets you really see what's going on, in the eyes of Juliana Velasquez necessarily. So, look, could Mike Beltran have seen something there, right? Like kind of the flash of like maybe consciousness going out, I'm just spitballing here. I really don't know. Because if that's what it is, then it's the right call. That's when you stop it. But man,
if she went
short
out,
of seeing that, yeah, exactly. If that's what he's stopping it for, sure.
From what I'm saying, well, he has a better view than us, but
that's the
from
thing,
what I saw, I saw a couple elbows. It looked like she was scratching the side of her head, like, "Hey, you got an itch here? Let me scratch it with my elbow for you." And then a couple ones where she got some space and landed. Could it have gotten worse in the next 13 seconds? Sure.
Yeah, could have.
I just think it was more she was stuck, and I heard the announcer rule this. He declared it a knockout, which would have meant Velasquez could no longer defend herself intelligently.
I'm almost positive it was a TKO, my friend.
But... No, it was announced as a knockout.
Oh.
I don't know if it was changed on the scorecard officially or what the official declaration is, but the commentator, I rewound it and listened again, declared it a knockout.
Well,
so
could have just misspoken.
It could have been, yeah, true. Because I don't know the actual official ruling on it, but if it was a knockout, that would tell us that Beltran saw her go out.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know. I mean, I think it's just an unfortunate situation. Even if it was the right stoppage, I feel like there's still like reason to kind of run this fight back because Velasquez, I thought, was pretty much winning most of this fight, except that position kind of got her in trouble. Again, we'll talk about round one, which was split among the judges, but nonetheless, we're talking about a fighter who was at the very worst going into, if she makes it another 13 seconds, going into that, she's got a final round where she's maybe tied, at absolute worst. Yeah. Now, the judges actually didn't have their way, but I'm just saying, like, if like all three judges had ended up seeing it the way of Liz Carmouche in the first round, then that's what it would be. But either way, it's kind of a tough situation here. So I don't want to crucify Mike Beltran. Again,
no, I'm not going to.
Good ref.
No. But
good ref.
Also, there was Big John said, and he's a guy who's been on the ABC committee writing the rules, and he's reffed many, many fights. He's saying, basically, you got to know the magnitude of this fight. It's a championship fight. You got to give the fighter that's being hurt the chance, at least, to get out.
I mean, there's certainly that part to it.
If it's coming from him,
yeah,
I take it a little bit more than say it was like, I don't know, a random fighter that was on commentary.
I mean, let's preface this by saying John McCarthy has not met a situation he couldn't find an opinion on.
Yeah, that's true, too.
Although, in this case, he is actually paid to give his analysis and opinion because it is a Bellator event. So there's that. I think there's something to kind of what you're saying. Like, yeah, I mean, realistically, you kind of want to let them go. But if the thing is, like, again, I'll go back to this. If what it comes down to is Mike Beltran saw Juliana Velasquez go out, right?
Yeah.
If that was the reason, it doesn't matter the magnitude. If she's out, you stop it.
Oh, yeah.
The moment that happens, you can stop it.
Right. I think
no matter what fight it was. If that's not it, then yes, I think we're talking about kind of the situation we're saying here. Like, yeah, it's a bigger fight. Maybe it ought to go on. Sometimes you wonder if, and I'm not saying that's what Mike Beltran did here, but sometimes you wonder if maybe the trigger gets pulled a little quicker in women's fights than in men's fights. I think there's probably anecdotal evidence of that. Could there be counters to that? I don't want to perpetuate that notion too far.
I'd say the main event.
Well,
the next night.
Well, yeah, but I don't know that she was ever really, Arlene Blencoe, of course, she was game throughout that fight, but I don't know that she was ever at any one point like stop the fight. I don't think I never got that sense.
Okay,
that was me. Maybe you disagree.
It was the most exciting one-sided whooping I've seen.
There's probably others out there, but yeah, that was a pretty good one
of the night.
Oh, of the night, sure, probably the weekend even.
Yeah.
What is your takeaway, by the way? We can move on from the whole situation there. What's your takeaway on Chris Cyborg's win? Like, what does that? What does it mean for her that she got this win over Arlene Blencoe, who she'd already beaten, she'd already finished, and this time she couldn't quite finish her off? What does it mean for her?
I think my takeaways from this fight, I think there's two fair things to say. I say her competition is fighting her a little tougher, and I think it's also fair to say she may be taking a step back from what she used to be. Because I think Prime Cyborg smashes Blencoe again.
I would think so too.
So I thought she probably should have finished when it was on the ground. Wasn't able to. She's still probably the best 145er, at least for now.
I wonder if if she'd be able to finish off that fight if she hadn't thrown the illegal knee. Or, well, what that situation kind of looked like when she lost a point for that knee, right?
Yeah.
In the first round. The only reason she didn't 50-45, it ended up being 49-45. That knee, it looked like she was trying to maybe throw it to the body. It's hard to tell. The angles are weird, but it looked like she was maybe trying to throw it to the body, and then it sort of got, in the process of trying to be blocked by Arlene Blencoe, it almost looked like it moved toward her face. And it was such a, it was kind of a graze too. It was partially blocked. So I kind of feel for Cyborg there because it's like, man, she didn't really, maybe she didn't really mean to throw it that way. Maybe she did. Maybe it just happened in the heat of the moment too, but it didn't look that way.
Well, my argument,
but that slowed it down. My point though, real quick, is just the fact that it sort of slowed down momentum she had at that point. I almost wonder if she could have worked toward the finish from there. We'll never know.
It's possible.
We'll never know. What do you want to say?
I was going to say, I mean, she threw it with the left, so the head's really the only target there. To the left side. If she threw it with the right, and then
it depends on the angle she's thrown it at. I mean, she's turned it in the other way. It goes to each other. Yeah.
So
I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't want to make excuses for Chris Cyborg there. I don't know what she's thinking in that moment. But either way, my main point is again the fact that I think if it wasn't for that knee, she was kind of pouring it on there a little bit. Like I think she might have been. I'm not saying she would have found the finish, but that was probably her best chance of the whole fight to actually create a finishing sequence. I mean,
but right after that, she got really mad. It looked like, or got really aggressive and took her down straight into an arm triangle. And I was like, God, that's it. How did she not finish that? I was like, should have finished that.
I like that suplex that she was able to pull off in I think round 4 too.
Yeah, she suplexed her too.
Look, Chris Cyborg, you don't, even if this fight in particular was not the most impressive of fights that we've seen from her in terms of just blowing the brakes off of the other opponent. I mean, she's still won every round.
Oh, yeah,
it was very clearly outpaced her.
Yeah.
You could even chalk this up to maybe just being an off night, which is still a dominant night for her, But it is kind of disappointing. It's like, who else is she really going to fight? She kind of called, she brought the names up of Kat Zingano. She even brought out Kayla Harrison, which she hasn't not necessarily been looking forward to kind of mentioning in the Bellator cage post fight. There's certainly both Kayla and Chris have mentioned each other over the last 16 months or so.
Yeah.
So there's definitely, they see each other.
Maybe 100%. A little bit of cross promotion between Bellator and PFL at some point.
The funny thing is because PFL talks about this all the time. Oh, we would love to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course they would.
And for all I know, anything in it might be an imperative on PFL's part to try and see that fight be made. But
Scott Coker's all about cross promotion when he wants his guys to fight UFC guys. Let's see if he wants his guys to fight PFL.
He's done it for Rizin too.
Okay.
They do cross promotion with Rising,
Okay.
100%. But the thing that Scott Coker said, at least this week, is no one's called me from PFL.
Okay. So it's
So-
on them.
He's putting the onus on them at the least to try and make this happen. And look, Scott could certainly be saying something, but it's not like anyone from PFL is answering. Don Davis or Pete Murray. No one's saying like, "Oh, we called you. We've been talking. You know that. Don't say that." They're both just. It seems like they're both just kind of letting things be public instead of private.
I get the
And
idea.
nothing's happening in private.
I get the idea. Scott Coker's a rather straight shooter.
He seems to be, as far look as
in
promoter terms.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's still a promoter.
That's true.
At heart, so you got to take that for what it is. But I do get the sense that he's not like hyperbolic. He doesn't inject a whole lot of personality. He kind of is
Loves
more or
his
less
pictures after fights with champs.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed my conversation with him last year. That was the first time I actually gotten to speak at length with Scott last year. And the guy loves martial arts, like not just mixed martial arts. He loves the martial arts,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I think he would love a world where the promotional side really wasn't necessary, you know.
Yeah.
But he knows it. He does it. But I think to that end, I think you're kind of right. Like he at least would prefer to be more of a straight talk kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's what it seems like. So look, I believe it. I believe that there's no talks, that PFL has just been saying things and isn't doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see it. If I get the chance to ask Pete Murray or Don Davis or somebody like that, I'll ask them, like, listen, are you guys trying to talk to Bellator? Like, have you made contact with them? Scott Coker says they haven't heard anything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to know. But yeah, I mean, short of that, like, yeah, I mean, Kat Zingano, just put that fight out there. Like, it seems like Kat Zingano has done everything she can not to get that fight, even though it's a fight she's kind of wanted for like years, or at least said to. It's almost like the same type of thing where PFL and Bellator.
Wouldn't that be
it's
something?
like,
She's got to win over Amanda Nunes. It meant she gets one over Cyborg too.
she does. It's a long. That is an old win, though.
It's a long.
It's a very
it was a
old
beatdown.
win.
No, it was a gassed out.
It was a gassed
Nunes
out.
getting
Yes.
beat down in the third round.
Yeah, I mean, she was not winning that fight until Nunes ran out of gas. You're right. Not dissimilar from the way she lost at the end of last year. But anyway, enough of the women's title fights. As much as they were the biggest things, I think, this weekend from Bellator. There was also, of course, the Bantamweight Grand Prix. They had two fights that ended up producing semifinalists. Raufeon Stotts, who's now the interim Bantamweight champion.
Why is that an interim title?
Because they needed a reason.
But isn't
Because, Dan.
Oh, okay.
Just because.
Why isn't Pettis in the Grand Prix?
Oh, he got hurt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's why there's an
That
interim
makes
title.
sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, he's out of the Grand Prix because he's got hurt.
Gotcha.
I forget the injury, but it's kind of a long-term injury, so
Okay.
as I understand it. So long enough to keep him out and, try to wrap up these Grand Prix within a year like you're trying to get, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please.
So yeah, Raufeon Stotts, he's the new interim champion. I don't see the need for this stupid belt. It's just let the winner be the champion. It doesn't matter. You don't need it.
Well,
you don't need this belt.
You don't need it, but they also have it in there, I think, as a failsafe for in the event there is a draw, the champ moves on. That's the ruling. The champ gets,
But
top.
but it was arbitrary to make this fight that way. I don't know. I'm just kind of annoyed. I just think it's goofy.
I'm just looking for reasons.
Well, you know what? Keep your straw.
I think
Keep
I
your
found
straw.
it.
Stop grasping for them, though.
I think I found it.
Raufeon Stotts, he's moved on to semis.
He's
Patchy
winning it
Mix-
all.
Patchy Mix is into the semis, and then in the earlier night, the night before, Danny Sabatello and Enrique Barzola moved into the quarterfinals from their kind of like wild card.
So they had a fight,
round.
like a fight-in match.
Yeah, these were to make up for the fact that Sergio Pettis had to bow out.
Okay.
So did James Gallagher.
Okay.
He's out too. So two of the bigger names, unfortunately, are out of that. But I mean, I don't know if you got the chance to watch Danny Sabatello or Enrique Barzola, but Sabatello really impressed me.
Okay.
Did you watch this?
No.
All right. So Danny Sabatello, just imagine a guy who sounds like Joe Pesci.
Okay.
All right. Except he can out wrestle anybody.
I've seen Joe Pesci do some violent things.
Is he a clown here to amuse you?
He'll throw down. He's got no problem throwing down. So I understand they might be related.
But yeah, I until proven otherwise, Danny Sabatello is the long lost son of Joe Pesci. I'm just going with that. But yeah, I mean, I thought of the two, Sabatello was definitely the more impressive to kind of move on. I could see him being the wild card that might actually make a run at winning this whole thing. But yeah, I mean, Raufeon Stotts looked fantastic. I mean, the head kick knockout. Well, there were some follow-up shots too, but the way he finished off Juan Archuleta, who's a tough dude, that was a big win for him. And Patchy Mix, I really didn't think he was going to be able to beat Kyoji Horiguchi, but he more or less did kind of the Demetrius Johnson kind of thing. I think they mentioned on the broadcast.
They did.
Yeah, it was very similar, and he's a much bigger guy than Demetrius Patchy Mix is. But yeah, I mean, he out-grappled him. He won rounds 1, 3, and 5 on all 3 cards, and then the other 2 went to Horiguchi. So honestly, it was a closer fight. It really all came down to the 5th round, but it was all mixed, and even in the 5th round. That's a good win.
That was Patchy Mix looked pretty solid
because he didn't look that great necessarily against Archuleta, at least in the first couple probably 7-8 minutes of their fight. But he's a young guy, like he's still kind of early in his career, so maybe there's a lot more to Patchy Mix. I think he still has to round out the game. It's gonna be tough fights in this tournament.
His semifinal matchup will be against Magomedov. That'll be a tough matchup for him. See how that goes, because the winner of that is going to fight Stotts in the finals.
That's what you think?
Because Stotts is going to the finals. Okay. And then I'm sure Stotts Magomedov would be a rematch, be a 5-rounder. I'm sure people will be really excited about that because their first fight was pretty wild.
So are you into this bantamweight Grand Prix
I'm into
now?
This
You're very into it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I enjoy this
All
one.
right.
This is the stuff I like from Bellator. They should just do it all the time. Like next week should be the semifinals. And then start a new one in a couple weeks.
I think it's a little much, sir. Also, we just had 3 Bellator events in 2 weeks. How about a break?
Okay.
I actually need a break from them.
All right.
I think they did a nice job.
To be honest,
I
wouldn't mind. Weeks, I wouldn't mind a break from Bellator either.
Well, yeah, I'm not surprised you would say that, but I'm not surprised. Before we move on though from Bellator, I think we do have to touch upon another thing that happened in the Stotts Archuleta fight, and that was in round 2. Had nothing to do with what was going on in the cage.
Jeez.
And had everything to do with what was happening in front of one of the judges, Sal D'Amato, who's sitting cage side in his Hawaiian shirt, as again is the uniform of the judges. And he's sitting there. He's trying to watch the action, which is happening more or less in front of him. They have these little monitors that look like they were taken from like an airport terminal in 1994. I don't.
They look smaller than the WWF monitors.
The ones that they would
out of the table.
Yeah, absolutely. They take them out before they would break the table. Yeah. It kind of looked like that actually. That's a good one. I have no idea if they were HD quality or whatever, but they looked horrible. But that's not the point. The point is Sal D'Amato's trying to watch the action there, judge and everything like that. He's not checking his phone like everybody likes to say. Mm-hmm. He's watching the action. All right? Mm-hmm. He's watching the action. You can tell. He's all into it. And all of a sudden, a cameraman just kind of saunters in front. Gonna take some footage of this action here. And, you can see Sal's trying to, kind of peek around. There's 1:20 to go. If you want to go back to watch that fight and watch the sequence, go back to, there's 1:20 to go in the second round. Just kind of watch from there over the next, 40 seconds or so. And it's a weird kind of sequence there.
It was baffling. I couldn't believe my eyes out. I was watching. I was like, what's this guy doing?
It looked like he kind of indicated to get out of the way too. I'm not sure.
That's what Sean Sheehan said. It made my night to watch Sal pull the guy out of the way.
It looked like he kind of did. I'm not sure if that's what was happening there or what, but it looked like that. Yeah.
So that's just. What if he missed something because the cameraman got in his way? That's just ridiculous. Cameramen should be off limits for certain panels that judges are sitting on.
And not only that, they never went to that camera angle.
That's
so
true
I don't know
too.
if we ever saw the action. Was it worth it? No, it was not worth it. Just staff limits, it's a real problem. Just wait until finally we replace all the cameramen with camera operators who are running drones.
Yes.
That would probably be better.
Yeah, it would be better.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, that's a good idea, I think.
Everyone should listen to my ideas. I have amazing ideas. But now my idea is to move on to UFC. And I don't really have too much that I want to touch upon here because not a lot happened other than a bunch of awesome finishes.
Yeah, it was a good card.
We don't have to go deep into that, but the main takeaway, I think, was the fact that Jessica Andrade, back down to 115, wasn't doing so good, and then all of a sudden locks in an arm triangle choke standing. And I'm like, is she going to finish this? No, she's not going to finish. Oh my God, she finished it.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah. It was awesome sub.
Because I always think back to, and you and I talk about this.
Yeah, it brings up bad memories.
Yeah, well, for you, of course. It's unfortunate for Jim Miller. Jim Miller tried this. He attempted this as well against Benson Henderson. I guess now we're talking 11 years ago.
Yeah, Milwaukee.
It was probably 2011 when it happened. This was like kind of a number one contender fight. If Jim had won this fight, if he locked in,
It would have been like his ninth in a row.
Yeah, he would have probably gotten the next title shot against Frankie Edgar on the all Jersey title fight.
That would have been a
fun.
rematch.
Mm-hmm. I definitely would have covered the heck out of that with my local paper. I was covering the Miller Brothers during that time.
If Jim didn't have mono, he finishes it.
That's what you're saying.
Standing.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the mythical creature, Jim Miller without mono.
Yes.
Okay.
Just like Motivated Pen.
Yeah, or well, we used to say sea-level Kane, but unfortunately Kane and Velasquez is dealing with all this stuff right now.
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers to his family. But Jessica Andrade, back to her. She's definitely next to 115 pounds, right?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I'd put her in right now. Just replace Esparza for in 2 weeks from now, and let Andrade fight. Do the trilogy match with Rose.
You really don't like her.
And listen, if she wasn't, maybe she's changed her ways, but from the impression she gave me on her season at Tough, I don't like her, and that's it.
What is it you didn't like? I did watch that season. I don't watch all the seasons.
The mean girlness.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that
clickiness. I didn't like that.
But a lot of that is like, I mean,
maybe favorable editing towards the other side.
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of that you just don't know.
Hey,
you know,
and maybe she's changed.
Hey, you know who came off as a real jerk on Tough? Tony Ferguson. He came up as like a drunk jerk. I remember that when he was doing that. Favorable, unfavorable editing. You never know. I that's why I hate reality TV, because it's crap. But I will say, at the very least, I think she's certainly, if nothing else, had to work her way to get to this point. I think you have to be impressed with the fact that she's gotten here. I know you sometimes disagree with some of the decisions, right? But
she lost to Marina Rodriguez.
Yeah. But she's got some good wins here, man.
Yanzhou non-win was excellent.
It's a really good win.
Can't deny her that.
Mm-hmm. I think she deserves to be here, but forget that. After this, it's got to be Jessica Andrade, no matter who wins, I think.
Yeah, I'd go with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to do, I don't think there would do a trilogy fight, at least not anytime soon necessarily, for Rose Namajunas against Carla Esparza, because that's 2-0 now. Mm-hmm. So the champ doesn't necessarily get to run it back unless there's some sort of weirdness there.
Yeah.
So I would like Jessica Andrade to get that next shot. I think she really deserves it. I would like to see how she can do in a trilogy of her own against Rose Namajunas.
Yeah, that'd be,
if that was to happen.
That's the fight, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I saw Zhang Weili and Joanna agreed to a 3-round fight.
It is booked, yeah. Is it 3 rounds? I actually missed that
not
part.
A 5. It's a mid card.
You know what? That's okay. I don't mind that. We got an amazing 5 rounds. They don't need to be all 5 rounds with these people. They're gonna die.
I heard. Well,
if they keep doing it.
I heard 5 rounds was offered, and they both said, "Let's just do 3."
That's fine.
Probably a lot of damage from that first
one.
Let
the fighters choose. You know, if the fighters choose that, I am not going to judge them 100%.
Yeah.
But that one is taking place on my birthday.
All right.
And I'm very excited for that card. The Singapore card is just off the chain. And I'm definitely going to watch the heck out of that. I already switched my days around. I'm going to be able to watch that one. We should definitely watch that.
Okay.
We'll figure it out. We'll do a little watch together.
Let's do it.
Don't be dealing poker that night or something.
June 11th?
June 11th.
All right.
Yeah, keep it open.
I dealt a sick hand. I posted it on Twitter.
Is that right?
Go to my Twitter to check out that hand I posted.
I won't, but you should.
Wild.
Listener.
If you're into poker.
Dear listeners should watch this or should go look at his hand. I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't even tell me. I don't even want to know what it is.
Okay.
You better not.
I won't tell you.
All right. But before we move into contested rounds, which we don't have too many, and that's across Bellator, essentially the main cards for the 2 Bellators plus the UFC. Before we even get there, can we just talk about the fact there's just 10 billion fouls happening in MMA lately, especially in the UFC and Bellator?
Yeah,
between the last 2 weeks.
My eye just tweaked thinking of it.
I saw that. You were gouging your eye out. Were you trying to be like Dean Barry?
Yeah.
To Mike Jackson?
Oh man.
Mike Jackson pulled off one of the biggest upsets in UFC history because he got his eye dug out.
Cash it.
Yes. Congrats to Mike Jackson.
You know what the thing is? I to be honest, I think he probably could have continued. I think his decision more or less came from, I don't feel comfortable fighting this guy who's fouled me twice.
You know what? Fine.
So and I agree with it. I can't blame him for that.
I don't blame him one bit. There should no one should be saying, "What? Go against this guy. You're afraid of him." It's like, yeah, I'm afraid because he's gonna try and pull my eye out.
Yeah, he was 2 knuckles deep.
Yeah, that.
So,
and Dean Barry has not done himself many favors on social media.
He has not.
So,
no, he has not.
Sometimes you just walk away. Just maybe uninstall the app for a day, just to keep yourself away from it. Go outside. He was in Vegas. Maybe, I don't know, just go play the slots, do something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Engage with the one-armed bandit.
There's a lot of great food places out there. I know you've been dying to eat. Go eat
That's right.
something.
Yeah. Oh man, that was. But the fouls, like it really does seem like there's like significantly more fouls at these Bellator and UFC shows like the last 2 weeks than we typically see. They are getting punished too, which is also we're seeing a rise in the punishments, but also we're just seeing more of them. I think.
Yeah, I hope maybe it just doesn't seem like that.
I'm sure it's nothing. You know, it even bled into the NBA.
Oh yeah,
yeah, oh yeah.
Nikola
Jokic from the Nuggets. He's the reigning MVP.
Right.
He might be the MVP this year too. He got his eye like dug out too.
Oh, he's the guy that he put up a crazy numbers. His team still lost, and people are like, MJ wouldn't have lost. Right? Is that the guy?
I don't remember. But that sounds like something
I saw that.
fans would say about literally any player.
Okay,
which is fine because it's true because MJ was the best.
Right, but if he could put up 40 points and triple double.
I'm gonna be the guy at the retirement home, 90 years old. People, hopefully I'm 90. Someone will come in and be like, "Man, did you see what happened with LeBron James the fourth?" I'm like, Michael Jordan was better.
He dunked from half court.
Whatever. MJ could have done that if he felt like it. He just didn't want to.
I'm of the Jordan camp too. So.
Yeah. Oh, you have to be because it's an age thing. Like it's very much like a millennial thing. If you're a millennial, it's Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're older, it's also probably Michael Jordan. But after that, like you go down to Gen Z, and then like whatever the next one after that is, I don't even know what my kids belong to yet. They're 6 and 4, so I don't know.
Generation Alpha. Maybe?
They're probably gonna end up calling it like Generation COVID or something.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, their life experience was shaped by that, so like it's probably gonna be based on that. I get that, but I don't know what it's gonna be called. But yeah, them might be different. Although my kids will be raised correctly, and they will know that Michael Jordan was the greatest player of all time. They already have a Michael Jordan book.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
and we only watch Space Jam 1 in your household, right?
They've never seen a Space Jam before, although because we ended up getting a box from Amazon one time, and they had some sort of partnership with the new Space Jam, so LeBron James's face was on it, and that became their crayon box for a while. I just threw a bunch of like the loose crayons that they had in this box, and so my youngest, he's now 4, but at the time he was only 3. He started really loving Bron James.
Okay.
Bron James. So he would see him and say, Bron James. So we ended up getting him a Space Jam coloring book, and he was coloring. Yeah, it's the new Space Jam. But no, he has not watched that one. I haven't watched it. I kind of do want to watch it, but I imagine I'm going to hate watch it.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
It's also a half hour longer than the original Space Jam.
That's kind of long for a cartoon movie.
I mean, if it's a good one.
Unless it's good.
Just be a good one. I'm sure this is not good enough to warrant 2 hours. So, hard pass. Let's get into contested rounds, man.
Let's do it.
Yeah. We're going to start with Bellator 2 again, right? I think there's more of them here too. We got 4 that we're going to be getting into. We didn't go all the way into the prelims and everything like that, even though there were some split decisions. There was there was one fight in particular from Saturday with 279 where 2 judges had completely opposite cards. We just didn't get the chance to watch those fights, unfortunately, so we are sticking to the main card here. So let's start with Saturday's fight that we already alluded to. Liz Carmouche, Juliana Velasquez. Round 1 is the split round here. So Dan, what happens in this round?
It's a close round, and it's 5 minutes of healing out, pretty much. It's quite the low output round, I feel. Carmouche is landing good leg kicks, and she lands a couple decent punches to the head. Velasquez is landing some solid left hands. Her straight left was pretty on point this whole fight, really.
Yeah.
I just think
more so later.
Yeah, I think the kicks are the difference. Carmouche had a couple strong ones towards the end. I think it was a really close round. Had Velasquez landed a couple more of those lefts in this round, she'd probably be unanimous on it, but she didn't. So I'm 10-9 Carmouche.
Yeah, I'm also with 10-9 Carmouche. Pretty much for all the same reasons here, but it's a close enough round that realistically, a few strikes here and there, a few cameramen walking in front of you, maybe you miss certain things. I actually noticed too, and maybe it was just in my head, but the fights on Saturday, it looked like some of the judges weren't sitting at like the middle of the panel; they were like moved off to the side. And then on Friday into Saturday, it changed. It looked like that they were more in the middle. Maybe I'm wrong, but it kind of looked that way.
I
almost wonder if there was like a change there. I don't know. Maybe it's in my head.
I just hate how it's like a lumberjack match outside the cage.
Yeah.
With, and the judges are just put in between all these people that are just like vying for position to try to get the the best picture that they could get.
And how are the judges supposed to work when realistically they have the acolytes and the New
Exactly.
Age outlaws,
Really, yeah.
and Too Cool out there? Like, it's very hard to. I mean, half of these people, well, not half of them are dead. I think just half of Too Cool is dead, unfortunately. But anyway, neither here nor there. Yeah, it's a close round. I think realistically, if you had the best camera angle and your best camera in front of you, and no cameramen walking in front of you, best TV, I should say, TV monitor. Because that's another thing too. I wonder if those TV monitors were crap. They just looked like you said, from WWF.
Yeah, like closed circuit TV. It's pretty much.
Well, I mean, they are watching on a closed circuit. Like, realistically, that's it, anyway.
Yeah,
but that did not look like
does that broadcast?
Is that an
in
HD
1080?
screen?
Yeah,
that's my question. I have no idea. It just looked weird. It just looked old. Like, it really looked old. Anyway, I think we don't have to harp on that too much longer. But yeah, I mean, you and I both saw it the way for Carmouche. So did Sal D'Amato. We both went against Mike Bell and Brian Miner here. So Dan, what does that mean for Sal D'Amato?
Couchside override. Seems like he's leading the league right now.
Well, he does have the highest volume.
That's true. Too.
That's that you always have to remember that with Sal D'Amato. Yeah. Whenever he's got more of anything, it's because he's doing more of everything too. And that's not to take away from the man. I think it's impressive that he's able to do that. But he probably will lead in couchside overrides because of sheer volume.
Yeah, I think he did make the right decision this weekend to go to Hawaii.
Oh, definitely.
He's been to Vegas plenty of times. How often you get to go to Hawaii?
I would go to Hawaii over that. I think Mike Bell and Brian Miner, they made out like bandits being able to go. Mm-hmm. Good on them.
And they got to wear cool shirts.
Yeah, they did. I don't think they were wearing them on Saturday or on Friday though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it didn't look that way. Maybe I'm wrong.
I wasn't paying attention.
I thought they were just wearing the bland shirt. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I didn't sit there and pay too much attention. I'm watching fights.
Yeah.
All right. I'm watching fights. All right, moving on though to 279, the Saturday fights. We have Raufeon Stots. We'll go back to their fight. His fight against Juan Archuleta. Of course, ended with the knockout head kick and follow-up elbows. Round 1 is a split round. What happens here?
Yeah, interesting round. Right out the gate, Stotts lands a strong left right at the start. Kind of stumbles Archuleta, at least kind of stops him in his tracks. Like, okay, well, let's calm down here. But then Archuleta starts throwing wild again. I didn't think nothing landed all that cleanly. Then he gets the takedown, and he just holds on for dear life for there. Doesn't pass, just lets Stotts hit him with pitter-patter for like what seems like almost a whole round. They work up to their feet, but they keep it in a clinch against the cage. Again, Stotts is landing these low-impact shots, and then he lands that jumping knee, which I thought was really good. I think that knee is responsible for the cut on Archuleta.
I thought they said something about it being a clash of heads, but I'm not sure. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I thought the knee was
hard to say with our angle.
That's true, yeah, but that was a solid knee. It was to that point. About a minute left is when they finally split up and they continue their wild exchanges. I just don't see Archuleta landing all that cleanly, and therefore the strikes being less impactful on Stotts. And then Stotts gets that takedown, great time takedown. Ends up in a turtle position, landing some strikes as the round ends. If you saw Archuleta strikes landing stronger than I did, I understand the score. But I'm 10-9 Stotts.
Yeah, I'm 10-9 Stotts too. That's another close round between three of the best, the three traveling judges that were brought into Hawaii, who were definitely not slacking off in Hawaii and enjoying the sun only. They were doing a good job here. I think I did side the same way as you with his Stotts, but yeah, I mean, I could see why Brian Miner ended up with Archuleta. In the end, it was Sal D'Amato and Mike Bell who were in the majority, and we agree.
All right.
What about, this was a non-tournament fight here, but Justine Kish coming over from UFC, more or less, I mean, not to be cruel, but she was kind of a UFC washout here. She goes in and she beats Alema McFarlane in a pretty clear unanimous decision. But round 1 is where we have at least some, debate over who won the round. So what do you say?
I mean, I can't get too upset over this score because, I mean, it's such a low output round.
Yeah.
But I thought it was rather clear for McFarlane. I really don't think it's close. Kish isn't doing anything effective. She's, she has a headlock and a takedown.
A lot of feints,
I guess. She's just not throwing any punches. She's not landing anything.
How effective are feints as far as the scoring?
Well, they're not scoring at all.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you're fighting the air, yeah, you're beating the crap out of it.
That's true.
But McFarlane didn't have much either. Her right hand landed quite a few times. Like when I say quite a few, like 5.
It's not that many.
So,
yeah.
I can't get too upset over it, but I do think it was pretty clear for McFarland 10-9.
Yeah, I agree. I saw it the same way. It's not a high output round. Whenever you have a low output round, you can at least understand why the judges could end up being split on that one, even if we think it's pretty clear, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Fighters got to give a little bit more to score here. I mean, you're trying to win the fight. Like, maybe you're not trying to win on points, but like, shoot. Are you just counting on those last 10 minutes as the way you're going to win the fight? I mean, you got to do something here.
Yeah.
You only have 15 minutes to do this. You might as well get some work in early. But yeah, I think McFarland's the only one who's actually effectively making that happen in this round.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's the right call. Give it to McFarland. Mike Bell, Sal D'Amato, they had it that way. It was Mike Onzuka, who I believe is a local judge for Hawaii, saw it for Kish. Not the strongest score. But yeah, a low output round nonetheless, so I get it in a way.
Mm.
And then lastly is Yancy Medeiros, who got the win in his first Bellator fight on friendly ground in his home state over Emmanuel Sanchez. He had the Hawaiian flag, right?
Mm-hmm.
30-27 twice and a 29-28. The only discrepancy is in the round 3, which pretty much had no bearing on the fight anyway. But we got to talk about it, right? What'd you see?
Well, first off, this was a great fight.
It was a great fight.
So,
as anything involving Yancy Medeiros and not a wrestler should be expected to be a great fight. And yeah, came through. Emmanuel Sanchez is another solid.
People call Emmanuel Sanchez the most exciting Bellator fighter.
This was a perfect matchup, I think. It was a right call. But yeah, so at this point, Medeiros is up 2 rounds to none. And we're in round 3. So what's happening here?
Yeah, it's a close round. Both guys landed good on the feet. I think Sanchez has the slight edge. You know, he landed that head kick, some good leg kicks, good right hands to the head. Medeiros' jab is splitting the guard, following it up with a couple straight rights. They do spend quite a bit of time clinching, in which Sanchez is throwing some knees. I mean, they're not huge damage, but really that's the only scoring offense for a while. Sanchez lands a big right when they do finally break, and I think they just slug it out for the final 20 seconds. Like, Medeiros is like, come on, stand in the center. And he's like, okay. And they start swinging at each other. And then right as the round's about to end, Medeiros lands that solid right, that backs Sanchez all the way to the fence. It's a close round. I really hate that they hugged at the start of it. I wish they both lost the point for it.
You do hate that.
But nonetheless, a really fun fight, tight round. I give it to Sanchez 10-9.
Yeah, I saw it for Sanchez too. It's really hard to kind of get mad at this one either way, independent of the fact that it had actually no bearing on the result. It was just, yeah, I mean, both of them are definitely doing some work here. I just saw Sanchez more effective, as you did.
Yeah.
But, yeah, again, who knows what these monitors are holding? Who knows how many cameramen are walking in front, pitching a tent, making brownies or something. I don't know what they're doing. But yeah, so I saw it for Sanchez. So did you. So did Mike Bell. Mike Bell was the only judge who saw it that way. So not the same way as Mike Onzuka, once again, and Brian Miner. So what does that mean for Mike Bell?
It's couch side override. Come get your award, Mike Bell.
Yeah, it's in the mail. They're always in the mail. If you don't get it, blame the post office. I like postal workers. My grandfather was a postal worker, actually.
Okay.
Delivered mail
my best friend is. Yeah.
He delivered mail for 25 years.
It's a good job.
Yeah. Kept food on the plate for my dad and his brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And then, then my dad kept food on the plate for me. And now I do that for my kids.
That cycle continues.
But they don't eat it. It just sits on their plate. So that's true. My oldest will eat just exceptionally slowly. And then my youngest will only eat like 3 different things.
Okay.
That's kind of how it goes. But so that's 2 couch side overrides from Bellator, actually.
Mm.
And then we only have 1 round from UFC because there were only 10 rounds to score. Because we had 10 billion early finishes or DQs and stuff, right?
Yep.
Not much went the distance.
It wasn't even a winner split. It was just a 10-9 versus 10-8.
Yeah, I think this might be the first time we've ever had a UFC that we were going to talk about that had no winner splits. It's like you call it.
Yeah, I couldn't think of a better word.
Yeah, it works for me. Yeah. I think we know what you mean when you say it. Yeah. And that is, of course, in Preston Parsons getting the win over Evan Elder, 30-27 twice and 30-26. Round 3 is the round that was split as far as the 8-9. So even at that, it has no bearing on the score. It's just kind of trying to figure out how you're supposed to score that round. So what happens here? Why are we talking about it?
Well, it's competitive early, but I think it's pretty clear Parsons landing the bigger shots. Elder is landing some shots here, but he's the one who just initiates the takedown and gets it. And Parsons sweeps him. and then ends up in Mount. Eventually worked there, and then started landing some big damaging elbows and ground and pound. He's basically there the whole round. He's attacking chokes. It's one-way traffic. Great effective offense. Looking for a finish. I think he checked all 3 Ds. I think it's a 10-8.
I'm also watching an opponent in Elder here who is really kind of not fighting back. He seems kind of diminished,
He is.
these things that you're kind of looking for. Is he earning his 9 at this
No.
point in the round? That's kind of a phrase that we've heard before. Is he earning the 9?
I don't see. I see a fighter just trying to make it to the finish line.
Yeah.
Hoping, not to get killed.
It certainly kind of looked that way. There was really a very much a turtled up kind of situation. It doesn't matter what was happening earlier in that round. It wasn't. I don't think a ton happened in that round early that it was sort of competitive that
No.
you're talking about either. It really wasn't that much.
Yeah. Well, when I say competitive, he was at least fighting.
Yeah,
But Parsons was still landing the better shots.
of course. Yeah. So I see this as being a round that ought to be a 10-8. Of course, 10-8s have been such a source of debate and consternation from a bunch of people since, like we said, we talked about this all the time, ever since the Adesanya Blachowicz fight. Everything changed after that. It's obvious. But the one thing is, Ron McCarthy was the one who gave the 8 here. Ron McCarthy is almost never in the minority when it comes to 8-9s. Like, this is like the second one that he's been in the UFC at the very least, the last 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So either he's the majority for either which way it goes.
Yep.
Okay.
Wherever Ron lands, so lands at least some other judges. He will always be in the majority, except for in this particular case.
I wonder which D was in question for the other two.
I don't know.
Because damage was definitely there.
Why don't you send a letter to Rick Winter and to Junichiro Kamijo? It's in the mail.
Okay.
We do mail, like we said. We support the post office. But yeah, I see this as, look, I kind of get why maybe it's not going to be an 8 based on like what it seems like now is like Dana wants it to be, an ass whooping, right?
But that is.
Yeah,
That was.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of, I can at least sort of see it being borderline here because
bloodied
what?
up,
Yeah,
getting smashed.
I don't disagree.
Mm.
I'm just saying, what are they looking for? I don't know.
Yeah.
What's the mandate kind of looking for at this point? But yeah, I like Ron McCarthy here going for the 8. I think this is a different one. If you see a round that just looks different from a 9, that should be an 8. Like, I know you need more than that worded in it, but like that's how it should be, and that's how the criteria should be worded to get you to that point, and it should be followed that way too. The words are still there. We're not judging the way the words are necessarily. I mean, there's leeway because it's you can consider giving an 8 in certain situations. So it's almost like that those words are put in there just to like give commissions freedom to roll back on like policies and things like that, which I don't think. I think that's stupid. I don't know if that's why it is. I just hate the idea of can consider. That language needs to go.
Right.
You need to have definitives in there. It's too wishy-washy. MMA is not a wishy-washy sport.
I agree.
Let's put it in there. Just say, must be or has to be or whatever you want to say, yes or no. That's what I want. The language just needs an upgrade. But nonetheless, we saw it with Ron McCarthy instead of Rick Winter and Junichiro Kamijo. So what does that mean for Mr. McCarthy?
No, couch side override. Join the club.
Yes, indeed. And you saw, too, from Bellator that he was shouted out as, I guess he's a Los Angeles County sheriff or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
That makes sense.
It was all, the servicemen and people like that, and they were highlighting the McCarthy family because John was out there.
Right. Yeah, so John was LAPD during the riots. So
yes, he was.
Makes sense. His son would go into law enforcement also.
I believe his daughter went into the military, they said, too.
Okay.
So, yeah, good for them.
Tough family.
Thanks for the service. And that is it for contested rounds. We watched PFL, but I don't think there really weren't many PFL rounds to go into. Actually, I think there was only 2 from the whole card. I didn't really have the time to kind of go back and do those as well, and I knew it would be kind of a tough thing. There was no like real fight where it was like, hey, we got to talk about it. You know what I mean?
As far as that goes.
Far as that goes. So yeah, we left it out of it.
PFL did have a great main event.
They did, yeah, absolutely, and they had 6 finishes too. UFC had 7 finishes between the Bellator main cards. The 10 fights that they had, there were only 2 finishes, but there were some pretty solid fights in there as well. out of, what are we at now? There's 15 finishes kind of are on the table here from what we're talking about. By the way, 6 round 1 finishes, not counting the DQ in the UFC, and 4 of them were subs. Just a wild fight weekend as far as that goes. What was your favorite of the finishes overall?
Claudio Puelles, knee bar and Clay Guida. That was just a grappling delight.
And he's a knee bar specialist. It's wild.
Supposedly he doesn't even drill
That's
that
what he
move
said,
so
yeah.
much. But he went omoplata to triangle to armbar to Kimura back to omoplata, and then Clay finally escaped, and then Puelles just attacked a lightning fast knee bar after. It was quick.
Is Claudio Puelles one of your favorite fighters of all time now? Is he gonna be like? Are you gonna stand for him now?
He's doing the right things.
Okay.
So yeah, what's your favorite finish?
My favorite finish was, I probably shouldn't surprise based on what you heard me earlier.
Yeah.
Jessica Andrade, the standing arm triangle. Like you got to go with that. You're not gonna see that happen very often.
It's the first time in UFC.
It's
history.
the first UFC one. I'm sure Caposa has seen a few in his day.
Yeah, that's nothing. I see that every other week.
God, I remember I was watching that in Guam FC 7 weeks ago. Yeah. Shout out to Cap because he does a great job keeping everybody abreast of what's happening. But yeah, that was just, I couldn't believe it because I went through the whole like, is she gonna get it? No, she's not gonna get it. Then she got it. It was crazy. I was like, I'm sitting there, my wife's sitting there, and she doesn't care about fights. She's just sitting next to me. But I'm like, wow, she got this. And my wife's just like, all right, that's cool. She's kind of happy for me, but like that's about it. But that was fantastic.
People were calling it weak that she tapped to it.
Oh, stop!
Like, are you kidding?
Stop that!
Why don't you get stuck in it?
Jessica Andrade is a little powerhouse.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry, that's some pretty sexist stuff there. Like, she can create some power. I don't care, and there is a little bit of a power thing to that move especially when you're standing.
Yeah,
you know. I'm not surprised that she's the one who's able to get that move. I wouldn't have expected anyone to get it. So
she probably gets a little extra leverage being shorter.
Yeah, maybe.
Too,
yeah.
So.
Yeah, that might be true. That would help me. I'm not a tall man. I'm like 5'8".
Well, if I could do it to John Jones, my feet would be off the ground.
Yeah, I don't think you could do it to John Jones. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news.
Yeah.
But that is it from this past weekend. Before we get into next weekend, I think you said you had interacted with is it our friend George from last week too?
Yeah, George had another question. He wanted to know why the fight between
friend is strong, acquaintance. I don't know anything about George.
He did ask why Dwight Grant versus Khandozhko, is that how you say Khandozhko?
Sergey Khandozhko.
Yeah. Why did everyone score round 1 for Grant? I thought it was pretty, unanimous for Grant. Khandozhko lands a big left hook that drops Grant early, but Grant recovered quickly, popped right back up, and throughout the round, he's landed some decent punches, while Khandozhko is kind of catching a lot of air and missing. He did have a nice body kick, but Grant then lands a big, heavy shot that face plants Khandozhko and lands a few follow-up shots. That takes the round. Khandozhko just got up and clinched him against the cage till the clock ran out, so I think it's pretty easy for Grant there.
Yeah, look, there's probably other ways to see certain rounds and things like that. So, if the question is because it was unanimous, I mean, that's just because we got 3 people who saw it the same way. It's not like they were, even if every single one of them was like, man, I'm so torn, and they all landed up on the same page, that's still unanimous. So there's not really a way to know. But again, I think you're right. I think that's pretty reasonable to give it that round that way. Yeah, it's always tricky too because we're sitting at home. We got to remember that they have different views. I try to go with the general rule that if all 3 judges saw it one way, it's probably the way it should be.
And that's basically how our show is.
Yeah,
unless there's some crazy outlier.
If there's a crazy outlier, we'll talk about it.
Yeah,
or at least examine it.
Like that one fight we were going to look at where there were multiple 10-10s or something in Russia or Belarus or something.
Well, yeah. Anytime you get that's a little strange, but yeah. And was there another question he had too?
Oh yeah, he asked when should an official recuse themselves from a fight? Because he mentioned the example that Mike Beltran and both Liz Carmouche were in the Marine Corps.
Yeah. So first off, I don't know that just the fact that both of them are Marine veterans would be something that would disqualify them. I mean, they didn't serve in the same platoon or anything like that. Yeah, maybe I'm using the wrong nomenclature there with platoon, but nonetheless,
Good movie.
Platoon is a good movie. I haven't seen it in a long time. But yeah, they didn't serve together, so I don't think that would be enough of a strong link. But to the heart of the actual question, from my understanding, is when officials are going to work an event, they're asked like, okay, here's the fighters on the card. Do you have any potential conflicts with these people? So you're supposed to put down something like either no you don't, or that maybe I used to train with this person. Maybe I work with fighters they work with. I don't know. I imagine you'd probably kind of strain to kind of mention something and then let the commission decide whether that's something that would be reasonable to try and have someone else work it than you. Maybe the commission says, okay, we're going to do it anyway. That's on the commission at that point. There was a situation 2 years ago when the UFC was in Houston, and this was reported from Aaron Bronstetter, and when he reported that, I was just like, man, that was damn good reporting from Aaron Bronstetter. But the situation where Joe Solis, a Houston-based judge, was assigned to a fight featuring Trevin Giles. This was a fight that it was against James Krause.
James Krause.
I'm working off memory here, so yeah. I'm going to try and parse my way through it. But in this fight, which ended up getting won by Trevin Giles, and I remember thinking that James Krause won. I think we have to go back and watch that again sometime. But in this fight, it was kind of like, okay.
I think there was a 30-27, and people are like, how did he in what realm win round one?
But I don't think that was Joe Solis's card was 30-27, was it? Maybe you should pull it up. But while you do that, Joe Solis had a link to Trevin Giles. I believe he got his blue belt or brown belt or something like that, or he worked with the coach of Trevin Giles. There was some sort of link there. And you can go find Aaron Bronstetter's reporting on this for TSN from 2 years ago, because that is going to be the source for this information as opposed to just my recollections of it. But yeah, essentially, Joe Solis did not disclose the link there, the potential conflict, and that is the real issue. You gotta disclose that kind of thing and at least let Texas say whether you ought to be on that fight or not. If Texas puts you on there, that's on them.
Okay, yeah, it was 29-28 Solis for Giles, but the round everyone was all up in arms about was round one.
Yeah. Now we'll have to go back on that fight anyway. But yeah. So to go back to the original question, you're really supposed to kind of disclose these kind of things and let the commission sort it out. I don't think that just having a military link is going to do it. I mean,
that's very general. Yeah.
It's very general. Like, I mean, if we both live in the same state, like, is that going to disqualify us? I don't see why that should necessarily do that. How much of a connection do you need?
Plus, military people are supposed to be the most honorable there, so they'd probably be like, yeah, they wouldn't cheat for each other.
One would hope. Yeah, for sure. So hope that answers George's questions once again. And honestly, anybody else, if you're listening and you have questions that you want us to address, tweet at Couchside Judges, or tweet at me at Scott_Fontana or at the Dan Urban to speak to the Dan Urban.
Yes, because there is a regular Dan Urban that I couldn't have because it's been a dead account for 9 years. Hasn't sent anything, so I had to put the in front of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that. There was someone already planted their flag on Scott Fontana, no underscore. So a bunch of years back when I started using my Twitter as more of a professional thing instead of what was my original handle? I don't even remember.
The MMA man?
No, it wasn't that. That was a separate thing. I actually just closed that account because I finally remembered the password. I finally got it back and I was like, all right, close it. It's a long story. But yeah, I think that closes it for now. Again, tweet us questions if you got them. Let's move on to looking ahead to the next weekend.
Yeah, let's do it.
As my voice starts to crack. PFL number 2 for this year. I believe it's Thursday. I wrote down Thursday. I meant to double check that. I think it's Thursday. Is that right, Dan?
I will double check for you.
You're the information man over there. You got the laptop. I'm just looking at my phone here. Okay. But PFL 2 is heavyweights and featherweights. Another event taking place in Texas, in Arlington in particular.
Taking place on the 28th.
The 28th is Thursday.
That is Thursday, so you are correct.
I am correct, yes. I'll give you guys the right answers. The judges we had for last week's PFL in the same place were Berchie Stillwagoner, Robert Basinger, and Daniel Matheson. Daniel Matheson's name stands out to me because I'm pretty sure he has worked UFCs before.
They did every fight last week?
Every fight.
Wow, that's a busy night.
Yeah, that was very much a short... they kind of treat PFL like a smaller show.
Mm.
Look, if PFL wants to
What
be the
about
fastest
referees?
growing, I believe there were at
2?
least a couple
Okay.
officials there, if I'm not mistaken. It was Kerry Hatley and gosh, who else?
I remember Kerry Hatley.
Who else was with Kerry Hatley? I can't remember. By the way, you saw Frank Trigg was both judging and refereeing for Bellator.
Oh, he was judging for Bellator.
He was doing both.
Oh, I did not know that.
He did double duty.
Okay.
Bellator will do that sometimes.
You know, I don't mind. Frank Trigg's still kind of green, so I don't mind him getting reps both ways on
you
bigger
know what?
shows.
Hey, everybody wants former fighters to become refs and judges, so he's your guy, Frank Trigg. Yeah, so I'm just gonna take a stab in the dark that it's gonna be this same trio on every single fight this time. They didn't have any issues in the last fights, so hopefully that continues, especially with heavyweights here. Maybe there'll just be a bunch of finishes.
Last heavyweight, did Fabricio Verdum's get overturned last year? Remember we had that strange.
It did get overturned.
It did. Okay.
Yeah, it became a no contest, but it didn't matter.
Okay.
Fabricio Verdum bowed out. He's not in this tournament, although I think he said he wants to come back.
Oh.
So I don't know what the deal is with him. Who the heck knows? Are there any fights you're interested on this PFL? Because honestly, this one didn't stand out as like a super compelling.
Well, this one mainly, I mean, I couldn't tell you a thing or two about either guy that we got written down here. But
Bruno Capoloza won it all last year.
Okay.
He won the $1 million. He won the heavyweight tournament, and they told him like moments after that he won it that his father had died a few days earlier. Do you remember that?
Yeah. That's bad.
Yeah. Well, it's up to the family. I think they didn't want to tell. They didn't want to try to mess with him because look, he went out there, he performed, he won $1 million, and hey, you know what? That's the family's business. I certainly won't judge them for that. But I don't even know what I would want. I feel like that's probably the right call. Don't tell me. Like what am I gonna do? Can't bring him back. You know, if God forbid, knock wood, my father's still here and healthy, and I'm happy for it. Love you, Dad. You're not listening.
It just reminded me of old school.
I haven't seen. I don't like old school as much. I'm like kind of a weird guy. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
It's not as high on my list of like Will Ferrell like esque comedies from the time. But yeah, I don't know much about Stuart Austin, but I am interested to see Bruno Capoloza.
He has an awesome name. If his nickname isn't Stone Cold Stuart Austin,
I do keep thinking of Stone Cold. Yeah,
and if he doesn't have the glass shatter before his entrance music, what is he even doing? Try to market himself?
That's a good point. Always market yourself by stealing someone else's gimmick.
Yeah, play off it, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm going to go with Stuart Austin for having a cool name.
What if he comes out wearing a black vest, bald head, and a goatee?
And
knee braces, by the way.
And Dennis Hallman trunks? Then yes, I'm all for it.
The banana hammock, yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. For whatever reason, this PFL card isn't super compelling. I think next the PFL 3 one that kind of wraps up this first leg of the season is going to be more interesting. Anthony Pettis is on that one. Kayla Harrison's on that one. It should be better.
Okay, that's next week after this.
That is the next, and also Rory McDonald's in it. And,
okay, yeah.
Of course, Ray Cooper III.
Yes, he's going. For the trilogy.
He's aiming for 3 straight.
3-peat.
Yeah. So that'll be a much better one. This one, it's just kind of there.
Okay.
It is what it is. But then, other than that, of course, there is a UFC. No Bellator this weekend. Bellator's finally giving us a break. But UFC is in action on Saturday night with Rob Font versus Marlon Chito Vera at 135 pounds. I like this main event. This is definitely one of the most compelling fight night main events UFC's put on in probably close to a month.
Yeah, this is a solid fight. And I'm leaning Chito.
I kind of am too.
I think he's kind of surging. I think Rob Font, I don't want to say he peaked, but that's essentially where my analysis is going.
I don't want to say he peaked, but you're going to let it out there unsaid that he peaked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
Honestly, this is a really compelling fight. I don't know necessarily what's going to happen in this one, which is always, whenever I sit there, I'm like, man, I really just don't know what's going to happen. I'm always most interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I kind of look at this one. I guess I favor Chito here. I can see it going the distance though.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think Rob Font's a real tough out.
That's a tough fight, yeah. So I'll go with Chito by decision.
Yeah. So, very, very close, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We're in Nevada, of course. We're going to have the traveling judges. I imagine they're probably all going to be united again. We'll have Sal D'Amato in Nevada, I'm assuming.
Back home.
Can't be in Hawaii forever. I want to go to Hawaii. My dad loves Hawaii.
I've never been there.
I keep hoping that maybe one day my dad will just be like, "Hey, why don't we take you in the family to Hawaii? Because we
Disney
want to
has
go."
a resort there now too.
They do?
Yeah.
Well, that can't be cheap.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
It's already expensive enough to go to Hawaii. And just be in Hawaii. They have a high cost of living there. Other fights of interest for you, Dan. What do you got?
Yeah, it's not on here. I told you I was going to put it on here, though.
Oh.
Gerald Mearshart, Christoph Jocko.
Yes.
Mainly for GM3.
Of course.
I like watching him.
Yeah, I'm compelled to watch his fight. I'm kind of the opposite when it comes to Christoph Jocko, who's kind of can sometimes end up being like a neutralizer to excitement. But yeah, I mean, I like that fight too. I like Jared Gordon against Grant Dawson. I think that's gonna be an interesting fight at 155. Yep. It's like just out, like it's probably somewhere around like the top 25-ish, somewhere in the UFC, maybe even closer. So whoever comes out of that, it's definitely going to be kind of knocking on the door of the top 15. So that's interesting to me. Darren Elkins, I want to see. Yeah. He's always appointment viewing. Tristan Connolly's his opponent for this one. And the fight that got pushed back because this was canceled like during the event, Alexander Romanov against Chase Sherman. You know, it's heavyweight.
I'm questioning when this was actually canceled because all day before the fights even started, you couldn't find Romanov and Sherman on any sports book. So like they probably knew this for a while that this fight wasn't happening.
I don't know about that. They probably the odds were just so out there. They were like, yeah, let's just not bother.
Well, no, it was on there beforehand.
But then they probably took it down because the odds weren't so great. They were probably just not working out anymore.
Well, that's not fair.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how sportsbook work necessarily, but I imagine
they always stack the deck in their favor.
Right.
Is what they do.
Yeah, but at some point they just say, well, things aren't working out. Maybe we just gotta cut our losses and move on from this one.
Yeah, it's not fair.
I will say this, like, and I'm not a bettor and I'm not making betting advice, but if you see Chase Sherman at like plus 1,400 or something, these are heavyweights.
Well, he was at 800.
Whatever. 800 even. If you see somebody at that, like, throw $1 down if you're a bettor. Like, Jesus. They're heavyweights. Anything can happen.
That's true.
We saw Mike Brown win by disqualification.
Mike Jackson.
Thank you. Sorry. Mike Thomas Brown, former WC champion. He was fantastic. And he's also a fantastic coach.
Yes.
At American Top Team. Not to be confused with Mike Jackson, who doesn't seem to be UFC caliber, but
he has 3 professional fights.
All in the UFC.
2 wins. 1 was overturned for marijuana. 1 was a loss by rear naked choke.
1 was a disqualification.
And 1 was a disqualification win.
Yeah. And by the way, the win was over winless CM Punk.
CM Punk was yes.
Bizarre career.
Yes.
Bizarre 3-fight UFC veteran. The number of people who've only gotten 1 or 2 fights in the UFC is it's so weird.
Sean Santella's waiting for a call, guys. We can do that, you know.
Shorty Rock.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for us. Thanks for listening, everybody. We will be back once again next Monday or Sunday. Probably Monday.
Yeah, next week sometime.
We'll figure it out. Enjoy the fights. I don't know. Do whatever you're doing this week. And again, if you have questions, submit questions to us. We'd love to answer them.
Yeah, send them our way. Thanks for listening.
Take care, everybody.